Hello there, my name is Megan. I said this in my indie deck video. I don't have a channel name yet. It's coming and I will insert it by the time you see this. There will be a channel name. I'm brand new to Tarot Tube. I'm hoping to have some other parts to my channel too outside of tarot because I do art and Reiki and astrology and lots of things that I've kind of been inspired by and learned more on YouTube, and so I hope to create content to like share more of that love for all those things on YouTube as well. I've been just like working on this and thinking about this and wanting to do this for months, maybe even a year now. I've created a number of videos over the last 6 months that I haven't even posted because I keep like talking myself out of it. So this is my like I'm gonna do it day. So the channel name will be there soon. Because the just 10 indie decks hashtag, which again I don't know if it was Garden Goddess, Theia, and Meg who did this one or if it was someone else. I'm gonna do those hashtags to them once I figure out if I got that right. I know this hashtag and this VR was created by Garden Goddess and Rose Honey Ritual, Garden Goddess Tarot. So and it was like a long time ago. I think like over a year ago. So yeah, most of these have passed, but because I'm just like going for it today and I just did the indie one, which I don't have that many indie decks. I have a lot of mass market decks, and even though like if I could, I would support independent artists all day long and do indie decks all the time. It's just not totally in my budget, and so like over time that will be what I prioritize in the future. But there are so many wonderful mass market decks out there. There's so many, and I have a lot of them, which again, like, is like I love them, and I feel extravagant in like what I've supported, but I had way more mass market decks to choose from, and it was so hard to choose 10. And so I thought I'd share those just because with the indie decks, it was just like, this is kind of all I got. So here they are. This one's a little bit more like I have a lot to choose from, and this is why I chose these. And also, yeah, I've worked with them a lot more than I've worked with some of my indie decks because I was able to afford them a while ago. So yeah, I thought I'd get into it. And I did a really bad job going quickly with my indie deck, so I'm going to try and do a better job of going quicker with these. And I will create timestamps because I love those when I watch other people's. This is my Rider-Waite, so this was one of the gimmies. This was probably my second or third tarot deck I ever bought. And I love it, and I studied with it, and like I am fine with it. And I got this back, the plaid backs that like yellow, in the yellow box version that a lot of people, you know, people love the Centennial, and I love that one too, but I just don't feel like there's like a great reason to get it. Sorry, I'm looking for this one deck that's like part of the gimme pile and I'm not finding it. Oh, yes I can. So anyway, yeah, I'm not gonna buy another RWS deck when this one works just fine. I didn't think these had reversals in them, but yeah, everyone knows this deck. People talk about like the harsh colors in this one. It doesn't bother me. Like this just works fine for me. And I've used the crap out of it and it's still holding up really well. The other thing that like is weird to this one, and this might sound insane, but like I sort of believe in this stuff, so maybe it's true, but like I've had moments where this like jumps out at me, like those magic eye things from the 90s. I don't know if you remember those, the like where you had to stare at it and like stuff popped out. That's happened to me with this deck a bunch. I don't know if that's like weird or maybe sort of supposed to happen. So I mean, there's part of it where I'm just like, no, this deck is totally cool and magical. So that's my, like, one of the gimme decks that we were allowed to claim. And I was going to say, I don't really work with reversals right now, and I'm going to explain that in a second. This is not one of my top 10 mass market decks. This is just my first deck, which is the Mother Peace Tarot. There's like been some issues with this deck over the years, you know, kind of white lady creating a deck about cultures that aren't super well researched, and, you know, she tried to like make some updated notes in the guidebook about it. And I get that, like, I understand why it's had some of that feedback over the years. But this was still the deck that my very first deck. It is old. It is over 20 years old now. And it is showing its age. But I started reading with this deck, and it was the only tarot deck. I didn't even have an oracle for like 15 or 16 or 18 years. I just read with this, and this was it. And then I got a couple oracle decks, and then I got the Rider-Waite, and started really studying the Rider-Waite system and got into everything else from there. But I don't normally read with reversals, but for 18 years I did, or 16 years, because that's how this deck works, is you read it upright, you read it reversed, you read it left, or you read it right. And so reversals made sense when working with this deck. But when I got into rectangle decks and studying the Rider-Waite, I don't often use reversals in rectangle decks. I don't mind when they pop up accidentally, and sometimes I'll do it that way. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird bit where, like, with this, it made sense to read it in different ways. But with the rectangles, I always like think about a reversed meaning when I pull a card. And if it pops up that way, I certainly think about it that way. But yeah, typically I read with these cards. Whatever. I'm still in like a what do I want to do, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm mostly doing upright, not using reversals, but something is a discussion in my head all the time that I just welcomed you to that table. So sorry for that. This was the other Gimme deck, the Thoth deck. I haven't studied it a ton yet, but I love it. And I have another deck that I'm doing my deck and walk with that is more hermetically focused. And so this makes a lot of sense to me because of my work with that deck. And it's like one of my favorite pip decks, more pipish deck. There's a couple others I have, but for the most part, I don't use pips a ton. I do have like a Marseille pip that I love a lot. But anyway, so these were my Gimme decks. So the Thoth, I've used my other Hermetic deck, the Tabula Mundi. It's a indie deck that was on my indie video. I use that one more often than this right now because I'm using it for my deck and walk, but I really like the artwork on this, and I've done quite a few readings, and it reads really well. What I will say, the little white book it's like dense to me, like it's hard to pull meaning. I did get this guy, and I highly recommend it. If, like me, you like this author, or Thoth, you know, have read with it some, or want to know more about it, but like just want some, like, what does this card mean? This is like what I feel like is the guidebook for it. Not for like a deep study of like what is all the symbols and everything else, but just like, I got this, what does it mean? This book is amazing for that. And it's really affordable on Amazon and all the places you can get books and whatnot. So anyway, I've already showed 3 decks, and none of them are my 10, and I'm sorry, but I just felt like those were all important context for getting into my top 10 decks. I apologize for my squeaky chair. Okay, so number 1 on my list, and it's actually an oracle, which is funny, but true. This was maybe it was my 3rd oracle deck I ever got. The first oracle deck where I was just like, yes, 100%. This deck is awesome. My box is super beat up, so this is like one of the only parts of the box I still have. But it's Krans Archetype deck. This guy, the Wild Unknown. The guidebook is so great. I love this guidebook a ton. I love her story about how the deck came to be. I love her spreads that she does. It's just like, I love archetypes. I mean, obviously it's like the basis of all tarot things, but it's also deeply embedded in astrology and in like life and my healing process and all of these things. So it's a great archetype deck. I also have the Carol and Mace archetype deck, which is good. I just, you know, the artwork isn't exciting to me. But it's good for just like, I want to read more archetypes. But this deck I have used a ton for myself, a ton with other people. It's so deep. It's so profound. I will say like the artwork didn't like blow my socks off right away, but I've come to love it more and more and like understand it more and more with use. And that's weird for me to say because like I love all sorts of different art. I love collage art. I love super abstract art. But yeah, I just like totally didn't feel it right away, but now I love it. It helped me like brush up on my Roman numerals. Which is, yeah, it was a study in Roman numerals. No, I'm just kidding. But it's such a profound deck. I don't know. I said that already. It just, I can use it with any tarot, any spread, any person, and it just like hits these really deep spiritual messages. I've used it, yeah, in like helping people through career decisions and like spiritual decisions and like life and like why am I feeling unhappy and just like so many different things. It speaks to so many issues really beautifully. This card, man, comes up a ton, which kind of freaked me out for a bit. It's just a well done deck, and a lot of people talk about it, so I won't talk about it too much, but I love it. I use it a lot. I've gotten so many other things that I'm excited about. I haven't been using it lately as much as I used to, but like it's something that I will use forever. I can't imagine. It's just connected with me in such a magical way. I can't imagine it ever coming off my list, but it might. But I love it like crazy. This is everyone knows this deck has an awful box, an awful cardstock. So this is like an antique hanky that I turned into a bag for this guy. I haven't put a button on it yet, but this is Brian Froud's Faeries Oracle. It's got some crystals in there too. The book is so good on this. It's like, even though the box is kind of crap and it doesn't even have a talk box from what I remember, the book is really good. It's like a hardback book and it's thick and beefy, and I love the writing in this. Holy smokes, the writing is so good, and it's like deep, you know, like it has a ton of information on each card. But the writing, the way that, what's her name, Jessica Macbeth writes about the Fae, it's just so beautiful. And this deck has like a soul and a life, and I don't know, like it's like a living being, and I would never, did I say nudity warning with this one? There's probably more to come on this video too, but yeah, this feels like actual like life in these cards. And again, people, you know, you'll hear this again from lots of other people. The cardstock is total, like the cheapest cardstock of any mass market deck I have, and I don't even care. Like I can get through it so easily because the deck is so magical. Every time, I mean, this is one of the few decks that like I have all my decks on like I'm gonna work with, you know, these decks each month, blah blah blah. This is one that's just like all year long. Someone else said this. Oh, this is the one where you're supposed to draw your own, which I have pulled before and I meant to draw my own. Someone else said this is like, I'll get a message, like I'll just be walking around and I'll be like, go pull a fairy, you know, card right now. There's a message for you. So that happens with me a lot. Like I'll just know when it's time, and then I'll keep the card on my altar for a really long time. There's one on my altar right now. until it talks to me again and tells me to pull another card. But such beautiful artwork, such beautiful messages and writing in the book. It's magic. It's like a little part of my inner child is in my love for this. There's just, it is a forever deck, 100%. I know there's another one of his decks that's out of print that I'm like, ooh, I would love to, I would love to have that someday. And I don't know if like, I would like that one more than this one, but I can't imagine ever parting with this. So for sure, top 10. Number 3 in my first tarot deck, which is kind of funny, is the Herbcrafter's Tarot by Joanna Colbert and written by Letitia Guthrie. Another one of my like studies and hobbies and interests, big time gardener, and I love I study herbalism and use that as medicine for myself and my family a lot. This deck is just so special. It is wise. It is like very much grandmother energy. One of my favorite herbalist writers and one of my original, like where I started with learning herbalism was Rosemary Gladstar, who's amazing. Any book by her, like, please get it if you're interested in herbalism and you don't have one of her books. And I say grandmother energy. She's older, but she might not be that much older than me. I can't remember. But it just feels like her, and like, I don't know, has somehow melded with these women. It's just like this wise, feminine, like awesomeness deck. This is a favorite of a lot of people. The guidebook is wonderful. It has like little magical herbal things to do, or ways to craft the medicine. It's just such an intimate, beautiful look at herbs in the herb world, like awesome backs. It looks like photos, but then it's just this incredible artwork. She did the Gaian tarot too, which is I don't have, but I know, like, I almost just want to. The artwork in that one doesn't speak to me as much as this one does. But I've seen the guidebook for that one, and I almost just like want to get it for the guidebook. It's such a badass guidebook. But yeah, this deck is special. It's just like all the plants. The only time there's like a little bit of people parts in them is for the court cards. But it is a freaking awesome deck. It's just like to the core. I love it. I love nature. I love the art. I love the messages. I love getting to know all the herbs and like getting clue. I have chronic illness, which I talked about in my other video. And so it's just like a great way to like tap into like, what plant ally do I need today? What could support my system or make me feel better, uplift my spirits? And I can pull it almost like an oracle in that sense. But yeah, the way that it correlates to the traditional tarot meetings is just like spot on and awesome. I don't know. There's nothing I don't love about this deck. And it's a mass market deck, but it has like a really good, really high quality, high production value feel to it. Yeah, so love this deck. Again, never, this deck would never not be top for me. The Dark Goddess Tarot by, what's her first name? Ellen Lorenzi Prince. Not like my most favorite backs. I wish they were, but I mean, it kind of fits with the artwork, which it's so funny. Like now I've gotten so many cool decks, even mass market ones that have artwork that I'm just like crazy in love with, that now this artwork seems, it's not simple, or like, it's not that I don't love it. I do, but I remember when I first got this deck, which has been a while now, and the artwork was just like so exciting to me, and now it doesn't feel as exciting to me, but it's still amazing artwork. I don't know why. It is gilded on the sides. Comes that way. Even it was originally an independent, but it's mass market now. I kind of like saw this on a pick a card reading on YouTube and just like it was one of those gut punch, like, this is my deck. And I happened to just go online and I found this deck for $12. It was like, that's like one of my most killer, even mass market indie, it doesn't matter, like my most killer deal luck ever. It was like, it had been opened, but like never even touched. And, a bunch of the cards were stuck together, which was kind of annoying, but I was able to get everything apart without destroying it. Why am I talking about that? I should be talking about the cards. These are all goddesses. And the guidebook, there's another one on this, like the guidebook is stellar. And my guidebook, every time I open it, I'm like, oh my God, it's about to fall apart, because I have studied this guidebook. After I did my like pretty deep Rider-Waite study, I came back and like added my study of this on top of my kind of cheat sheet meanings as I was like really learning everything, because studying this, even so much of it, like this does not correlate with the RWS system in terms of like the visual image, but when you read the story of the goddess, it totally correlates with the system, but you just wouldn't be able to like see that visually right away. But my study of like putting this together with the RWS system deepened my knowledge of the RWS system so much. Like, it's so well done in how it relates. And the sacred feminine is super important to me. It's been something I've studied in my life for a very long time. Obviously, like Mother Peace was my first ever tarot deck. And this is just such an amazing study of goddess culture throughout the world. And perhaps unlike Mother Peace, and again, I haven't like delved too much into the context around some of the stuff, but I feel like this was really respectfully done and like really well researched. And yeah, it just feels like it does a really good job of honoring the culture from which it comes. But such a good guidebook, such a good deck, and reads every time just like so profoundly and beautifully. So they did mess with the system. It's obviously I just lost it. The Amazon is, the court cards are different, and the suits are element related. So fire is wands and water is cups, which is the elemental energy is super easy for me to correlate. So, what I was going to say is, so it's Siren for page. Nope, it's Amazon for page. I do forget these sometimes. Amazon for page, Siren for knight, Witch for queen, and Hag for king, which I love this card. I'm from Baton Rouge originally and have a lot of family in New Orleans, so it's a really good card. Okay, so Dark Goddess Tarot. Oh my gosh. My commitment to staying fast is not going well. Mary L. This is mass market. This is like, what, the second or third edition? I kind of like the first edition cards that they switched out with these better. They're kind of harder maybe to look at, but I like them better. But in terms of affordability, this one was a lot more affordable for me. So I got the second edition. Another really chunky, really awesome guidebook. Of all of these guidebooks, I mean, they're all really good that I've shown so far. This one is just like magic stuff to me. The way she writes is so like, speaks directly to my subconscious, unconscious self. Like, serious nudity warning. This one has like one of the more explicit decks out there. See, like, how did this one get so back and forth? The artwork in this one, this is probably like my top art choice of all of these decks. There's something about this art that just speaks to my core. Okay, seriously, this must have got shuffled funny. Yeah, it speaks to me. I don't even know what to say. This is just like a magic soul. I don't like explicitly have a soul deck right now, but this is the closest to that, I would say, that I currently have. This is so bizarre. Hello. Anyway, this deck is magical and beautiful, and I love the guidebook. I love the way she writes. I love her artwork. I just think this deck is just genius, and I love it. And I mean, and it's one of those decks that, like, I would just pull and look at for beauty. I would just pull and look at for a simple message. Sorry. And also one that I could sit for like 3 hours and just like get the deepest stuff out of. So it's such a beautiful deck. It does have some intense imagery that I know doesn't work for everyone, so that's totally understandable. But from what I've seen other people talk about it, like, it's one that's worth it if you can kind of sit with it and kind of accept the imagery over time. The imagery for me was just like right away, even the hard stuff. And I kind of talked about that with like my Brady tarot in my other video. Yeah, I don't know why, but like all imagery and artistry kind of works for me. I can accept it even if I don't love it. But yeah, I just accepted and loved and connected deep with this immediately. Gosh, I love it so much. I can't say that enough. I'm going to say that about all these decks, but like that one, yeah, it's just so much a soul deck. This is my totally weird bag I made for it, which it's like, this like cool southwestern fabric that I found at a thrift store. I couldn't find anything that matched Marielle. It's just so eclectic. So I was like, whatever, I just love this fabric, so that's what it's going to be. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5. Number 6 is an oracle. That's fun, since I don't have very many. This is medicine cards. I didn't get these for a long time because I was like, what are these cards? They don't look, you know, they just kind of have this simple look to them. They knock my socks off. The book is super cool. Oh, these are all these like extra cards that you can do. The book is awesome. And written by Jamie Sams and David Carson, illustrations by Angela Wernicke. Can't remember what tribe Jamie is from, but she talks about it in here. But it feels like they're very respectful of that, you know, kind of saying like, this is our tradition, but there's lots of different nuances in how different tribes approach animal medicine. This card, every time I pick from this deck, it is like the most profound, most needed, most healing message I could have asked for every single time. Like every single, you know, you should have, I mean, I'm not so precious about tarot intentions and sacred space and stuff like that. I just, what am I trying to say? Like, I kind of do a cleanse type thing of any new deck I get, but like, I'm just not as precious about it. And every once in a while I'm like, does that, you know, am I not doing it right? But, I know I am. It's fine. Like, you know, it works for my practice. But with this deck, I swear, every time I use it, and another one I'm going to show you, I like hold it to my heart and like thank it. And like, I'm almost always in tears with like gratitude every time I pull a card from this deck. I wish I'd got this 9,000 years sooner than I did. Like, it looks simple, but it's such a deeply profound, beautiful deck. So yeah, it's medicine cards. It's super old. I can't even remember when it was published. It's vintagey. Copyright 88. Oh, it's not as old as I thought, but you know, old enough. An incredible deck, and I'm actually going to leave this here for a second to show you my number, 7? So this, you know, the medicine cards was written by a Native woman. These cards were not, and so I was kind of conflicted by that for a while. This is the Vision Quest Tarot. And I tried to do like a lot of research because I really wanted them to be written by Native people too. This is by Guy and Sylvie Winter and Joe Doze. I couldn't get to the bottom of it. So there's a chance. I think they studied with a Native tribe in the Southwest, I believe. But I still couldn't get to the bottom of it. But I've made peace, you know, because like I use these together a lot. And I do the same thing with this deck that I do with the medicine cards, where I'm just like in tears, thankful to the deck every time I use it. Yeah, there's something that like, and I haven't done blood testing or dug into my like other parts of my ancestry that aren't as well known, but like there's just something so soul connected that I feel to the energy that comes from these messages together. And this deck, while I do feel like some of the Native people depicted in this deck are a little too European looking, that, you know, that might be some of the like not so artfully done bits. I don't know. It's still, this deck is beautiful and very deep and very speaks with medicine cards so well. I don't know. It has this, they're like kind of pippish. This was a deck I was trying to remember earlier that's pippish. But they're illustrated kind of pippish bits, and so you can still get so much meaning from them. Just, they're beautiful. It's a beautiful tarot deck and like a really different style and energy than any of my other tarot decks, certainly in my pile of 10 mass market decks. So, oh, and the backs, I really like the backs too. They're not reversible, but that doesn't really bother me. And people talk about the copyright on the back, so it doesn't bother me. They're like, I can get over a lot of things if it reads well and like I connect to it. Anyway, this deck, both of these decks, I use them together 99% of the time, and they both are like the most healing, gentle, loving, like, and I didn't show any of them. The Vision Quest Tarot does have some like jarring cards, like, which is usually important to me. It's not all just like gentleness and love, but just such great messages. They read so well. And I don't know, like all of these decks, like I talked about the Marielle and everything, but like those two of all of these are ones that would be hard for me to leave, like for a week even, leave at home. Gosh, I am just like gushing about every single one of these, and I feel like that makes it not as meaningful, but all of these mean so much to me. Like I'm serious. It was so hard for me to just pick 10. This is the Hoodoo Tarot, and some of my like videos I made where I chickened out and like didn't post them. I've made like 3 or 4 videos on this deck because it's such a wonderful deck. I love it so much. Oh, my cat's coming to talk. This is by Tiana Lee McQuiller, I think is how you say her last name, and the artwork by Caitlin Foisey. The artwork, like, I love the artwork. It totally works for me, and I find it beautiful. Hi, Paige. You want to come say hi? But what makes this deck the most magical, because I am such like an artwork aesthetic person, that normally is like sometimes my number one, but much like the medicine cards, what makes this deck fantastic, amazing for me is the writing by, sorry, I have to pick him up, by Tiana Lee McQuiller. Her writing is incredible. She is a genius. I've seen like my kitty cat's coming to smell some crystals. This is Paige, named after Jimmy Page. He's a boy. And he is my like familiar total child witch cat. I love him so much, so I am not going to push him out of the way unless he tries to lay on the cards, which he might do. Anyway, Tiana is an incredible writer, and what she did with these cards is just like out of this world. So I've mentioned a couple times that this whole like map, okay, dude, this is like too much. Now he's rubbing on the camera. What do you think you're doing, you crazy? Oh, you're so cute. Oh, hi, buddy. Okay, move you just a little bit. That's not like the best spot. I know you want to be in the middle of it. Oh, you can sit in my lap this whole time if you want, even if I can't move. So I've said this in my my indie deck video, like, this is where like all of my United States family that I know about is from. So like my dad's from Texas, my mom's from Louisiana. I was born in Louisiana. I grew up in Georgia. So like this region is where I'm from. I live in the Northwest now, but so much of like the Southern connection here is amazing. I said this in another video. I'm not going to go too deep into it just to not make this like 9 hours long. He is desperately trying to get back up on the desk. Come on, dude. You can't get up there. You can't get up there right now. I bought this as like a study for myself. Like I want to know more about native and native roots in the South and Black cultural roots of the South, and I want to learn, like, do my best to educate myself, all the parts of the South that I wasn't taught, that I should have been taught, or that like weren't credited with like the culture I know to the people that it came from. So a big part of this deck for me was trying to learn and educate myself about people of color's experiences and history and like culture within the South. And it just like exceeded my expectations in every possible way. And again, I totally credit Tiana Lee McQuiller for like her writing and her just, she makes it so accessible and wonderful to work with. Like, look at this guidebook that it has a Bible verse, which normally would be kind of triggering, but of course I, you know, growing up in the South, I grew up Christian, and the verses she chose are so amazing for the card. Like, it totally works beautifully. She has a plant for every card, or just the majors? No, she has the Bible verse is just the majors, but the plant is for majors and minors. Then the image, it talks about the image, the meaning, and then these incredible journaling kind of prompts, which there's so many of them. She only does the journaling prompts for the majors, but they are so good. And I don't know, everything about this book is, or this deck, it's an amazing ancestor deck. I think even, you know, I don't know, I think for anyone, like even if you weren't from the South, I definitely find it accessible for ancestor work, not personally being a person of color. The ancestor energy and voice from this deck just really speaks true for me. Like, it's very loud, and she does a ton of ancestor work, which I didn't know when I bought this. I mean, of course, that's a part of like Hoodoo, but Tiana wrote Rootwork, the Folk Magic of Black America 20 years ago, probably more than 20 years, depending on when this was published. So she does an amazing job in the introduction, like talking about Hoodoo and debunking a lot of myths about Hoodoo. It's just so beautifully done. The whole daggum book is amazing. And I love the restructuring that she did. So again, some people freak out with the restructuring. I said this in another video. Every single major is renamed. She puts the RWS name only in the book, but not on the card. But once the stories are so good and so worth it, and once you just read the majors, I mean, obviously the numbers are still there. So if you know the numbers, you know what the major is. But if you just read the story once, you will never forget, like, that this is the magician again, you know. The stories are so good. I don't want to get crazy and just like talk about it, but every time I open this book and open this deck, I want to just talk about it. This is like an education. This is like a deep, just like beautiful, super important perspective on the tarot that adds more depth to my understanding of the tarot than any other book or tarot deck I've ever gotten in my life. It's so personal. It's so, I'm sorry, I'm like flipping through the book, but really, like, the book is so good. I cannot emphasize it enough. Highly recommend. So everything's been a little bit renamed. Pentacles is coins, cups is baskets, sticks is wands, and it's like knives I think is, yeah, swords. She clearly like did not want to use king, queen, page in the court cards, so she calls the major arcana the elders, she calls the court cards the family, so it's daughter, son, mother, father. And then the courts are all the minors are all the same, just different, oh my god, everything's falling apart, different suits like I talked about. Anyway, this is beautiful. I talked about this in my indie deck video, but it goes with my favorite indie deck of all indie decks, which is the Southern Gothic Oracle. It goes so beautifully with that deck. I don't have it right here right this second, but they're beautiful together. It goes with so many Oracle decks just because it has this like sepia primary tone. Anyway, this deck is freaking killer, awesome, love. I don't see it enough. I would also rate it as like one of the most underrated decks that I almost never see on TarotTube, and it's so crazy good. And I don't think I can't say enough good things. Like, okay, my next one, which is like totally different than all these that I was just talking about, is the Uncommon Tarot by Shaheen Miro, and the book written by Teresa Reed. The Uncommon Tarot, I found this from Waves of Your Soul. She did a like underrated mass market deck post, and I saw this and I was just like, yes, this deck. And I felt goofy afterwards because I was like, I didn't even look at like a flip through of this. Like, how did I just buy that so quickly? And it is like one of my biggest surprises. I love her channel. You should totally subscribe or watch some of her videos if you haven't. She's French, which I studied French a lot, and I've actually picked up some of her favorite French decks too. I wish I could say that was part of my ancestry is French also, living in Baton Rouge, but I just studied French through school. But her channel is so great. I love her to death. And she just has the most interesting and like awesome recommendations. I found like some of my favorite things that I found are from her. And this is one of them, just like totally surprised me. So I find this is like a collage, but the collage is looks more like a painting than a lot of other collage decks. And I find it so easy to read just right away. It's subtle, like sometimes it takes me a second of looking at it, but I can read it so easily with the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. It goes with everything. Probably my favorite thing about this deck is it goes with everything. It goes with almost any other tarot deck or any other oracle I have. Like anytime where I'm like, I can't find, I want to pull a few tarot cards to like clear up this message, but you know, if like I don't think of a deck right away, I can just pull this one out and it'll work. I like maybe can't see it next to medicine cards, but anyway, for the most part, anything I've pulled this out with has just been so beautiful. So yeah, I just find I love the artwork. I love the colors. I love the different take. It's like modern, but it's old at the same time. Like this Three of Coins, like it's just so clear. I can see the Rider-Waite-Smith image immediately, but like I like, you know, this is a great image. So I don't know, it's just one of those decks that like I love the translation. It has these kind of like vintagey vibes, a little bit of animal vibes, like different cultures, different ethnicities. I don't know. It's like best of all worlds in a lot of ways, in terms of being able to read it, it being beautiful, like the Five of Coins. Like I feel this is one of my favorite interpretations of the Five of Coins or Five of Pentacles. It doesn't mess with the system very much, other than like coins instead of pentacles, I think is the only slight variation. The other thing I like a ton about this deck, which I've already talked about, reversed meanings, how I don't normally read with them in rectangle decks. That sounds so weird. But of all the guidebooks I've read, this guidebook, it's short and sweet, but everything's really good. But their reversal messages in this book are really good. And so in most decks, like a lot of times I won't like the reversal message that people will write in the guidebook, but this one I always do. And so anytime, I usually read with it upright, but every time I will read with the reversal message because it's always worth repeating. Oh, I had never even like noticed that. Like same-sex couple for the Lovers card, which again, it's just, it looks like this like classical deck, but then it's got these like little modern nods in it that are really refreshing. So anyway, gorgeous. I love this deck. And it, again, Waves of Your Soul was 100% correct. Like super underrated deck. Other than her channel, I don't think I've ever seen this anywhere else. And I just love it so much. I use it a ton. It's really easy to use. I would use it with other people in a second. So in my opinion, of all of my decks I have here, the Hoodoo is by far the most underrated, I would say, of all the ones I have, but this is a close second. So Uncommon Tarot was super great. And then my last of my top 10 is this guy. And this one's kind of a tricky one. So Witch's Wisdom by Phyllis Curott and Danielle Barlow. This is a tricky one because they have totally messed with the system like more than any other deck here that I have. And so that is tricky. And I know some people who say they work with the numerology of the card, they can't use this deck because the majors are reversed. So basically the Pilgrim is actually kind of meant to represent not the Fool, but it's meant to represent the world. And I think this one's meant to represent Judgment. See, now I'm like second guessing everything. But yeah, basically they've like flipped completely the major arcana. Yeah, so 20 is the Priestess. Okay, yeah. So this one's supposed to be the Fool, even though it does read like a world card. And then, that's funny, these are in order. I don't know why. I must have been doing something. But the Priestess is the High Priestess is 20. The 19 is the Great Mother Empress, Wisdom Keeper, Emperor. So they've flipped the major arcana completely and renamed everything, with some exceptions. So that I know has messed up some people who use the numbers of the majors in a very particular way. It doesn't, again, I'm okay with it. Like, I can recognize that I'm using a different system when I use this deck. I don't know that I would use it necessarily to like read for other people because just my confusion, like trying to remember certain things might get in the way. But it totally works for me. I love the messages. I even love the reason why she chose to flip the majors. She explains it really well. It's kind of like a modern take where like now we are often like instigated on the hero's journey because of the ruin of our world, you know, because of how messed up our world is. So we actually start from like a reaction to the world. I'm probably not saying this perfectly, but we start with our reaction to the world burning, basically, and then work spiritually to get back to like a full state where we can kind of be in that beginner's mind and like, yeah, be at the healing, not in the world state, but kind of working through away from the world almost. I hope that made some sort of sense. But anyway, it all works for me. I love it. The thing I love the most is the artwork. Danielle Barlow is, I just love her artwork. It's watercolor. It's beautiful. I love her interpretations. She has an oracle on Etsy, I think, that I almost got. And I was honestly like going back and forth between this and her oracle. And I just got this because there's more cards and I wanted more of her artwork. And that was the only reason. I mean, now that I have this is my only artwork that, like, for some reason, I don't love the most, but every other card I just love so much. I love the, like, nature elements of this. It is very, very Wheel of the Year witchy, 100% through and through. So I love that aspect of it. Kind of, oh, I'm getting my videos mixed up. But anyway, it's a beautiful deck. It's beautiful artwork. It's modern and, I don't know, but like timeless in a way at the same time. I love the animal energy in it. Yeah, it has, I mentioned this about the Brady Tarot in my indie deck video. It has those like hard truths of life, and the darker sides of life, which can be really confronting and hard, but like that's really important for me in a tarot deck. So like the mirror image in the water of like the mother's skinny, and there's only one cub, you know. Like just that's heartbreaking. And I don't know, there's lots of harder cards, but yeah, the connection with nature and with like really challenging parts of our world is just really, I find it really beautiful in these decks. So they have different court cards, but other than the elements, instead of the cups and everything, I find outside of the major arcana, I find this really easy to correlate, and it adds a lot of depth to my knowledge of like the traditional RWS meanings. But I just love the artwork. This is like a close second behind Mary L in terms of like my favorite artwork ever. Don't make me rate them. Because I love so many different kinds of artwork so much. Like this, I love this, like the dragonflies mating and creating the heart. Like I watch that in nature all the time. It's one of my favorite things. So a beautiful, full of earth energy deck, full of magic, full of like really beautiful grounded earthy magic, which is kind of like my bread and butter of magic. I don't know, if magical living. The guidebook is really, really good. It's really in depth and has a lot of good information. So that is 10. I did not honor my hopes of not talking so much in this one, so I apologize for that. I'm gonna do a super hot, fast, like honorable mentions. Oh my gosh, there's too many, so I'm gonna try and take a few out that are just like super special. So I'm gonna have to find a way to bring these in another video. But this deck I super love. Circle of Life Tarot. Again, like I started on Mother Peace, so like the circle part doesn't bother me. It's got Fae energy, Earth energy, a little bit of darkness to it, but it is really cool. I really like this deck. It's mass market and I love it. Again, I'll find a way to like get more of these in here. But I'm just going to do these super fast. The Fountain Tarot is an incredible tarot deck. It's relatively new to me, but I've been stalking it for a while. The artwork is just really cool and really beautiful, and like I love the way it tells the story of the tarot, and just this, yeah, the clean kind of quieted but still really profound messages. I don't know, I really love the artwork, and but it has a different energy to it that I appreciate, especially because, yeah, a lot of my decks are goddess oriented, and so I really like that one just for a different energy. I feel like all of my cards have a lot of different energy. These guys, this is one, I haven't made a bag for this yet, but this is one that I thought I would never get. Because it just like wasn't quite speaking to me, and then I did kind of on a whim one day. I just have, which one is this, 1 or 2? Yeah, it's Soul Cards 1. Soul Cards, and then I got it and I started using it, and holy cow, the intuitive reading from this is so good. It honestly, I think that's what I loved about it so much, is like I didn't trust myself to read intuitively. Especially like this artwork I find beautiful, but it's not like totally my aesthetic, and it's very abstract. And so I was like, I don't trust myself to like be able to read, and you totally can. They speak so well and they're so lovely. I can't say enough good things about it. I know it's like on a lot of people's top 10. This guy I love a lot. I've already said I love animal decks. I know there's people who are like one way or the other. I like all decks, but like clearly just, I wouldn't have thought this about myself, but it keeps showing up that like I have a lot of animal decks. So I like this one a lot. It's like a mass market. It has elements of the Brady Tarot to me, but more animals from more parts of the world, obviously. But has that like ability to show the dark and light sides of the animal world. This is by Lisa Robertson. Am I saying her name right? Yeah. She also did the Cirque du Tarot and I think a couple others, but her guidebook is killer. It's such a good deck. That's the Animal Totem Tarot by Lisa Robertson. And it's so good. Sorry, Soul Cards was by Deborah Koff Chapin. This is so bad. I think this one's out of print, so I hesitate to show it. I managed to get a really good deal on it, but it's a really great oracle. It's the ancient feminine wisdom of goddesses and heroines. It is like totally focused on Greek pantheon. Well, not entirely, but I would have to fact check myself. But the artwork on these cards is so amazing. And oh my goodness, it's such a good oracle deck of goddesses. And the little white book, which is all it comes with, is like really good, and I highly recommend this oracle deck. It's just like, I love the artwork. I of course love it's like I keep being like, how many oracle like goddess decks do I need? I don't need another one. And then I'll get one and I'll be like, yes, I need it. That one was good. Oh, so ancient feminine wisdom of goddesses and heroines, largely, I'm pretty sure almost entirely Greek based, but I could be wrong. And then my last one, I'm sorry, I am flying through these, so I will find a way to get more info on these soon, is the Journey to Enlightenment Tarot. I just find, again, this is another one where it's like, okay, that artwork's totally different from all of your other decks. But these cards just read, they're really colorful, and I love the quirky art style. And they just read really well, and it's totally like this super affordable deck. It's got a really good kind of matte cardstock. Again, it's like mass market cardstock, but I like it. Anyway, it's just a really good oracle, a really good tarot deck. Very clear RWS imagery for the most part, but again, there's like a ton going on. So, this isn't like a calm the space down kind of deck, but you can see the RWS imagery really, it's really easy to read. But yeah, it reads really well. And the guidebook, what I really, really like is, this was another tarot that this creator made to kind of help through some healing. This was more emotional, psychological healing. And what I not only like love the super quirky, cool, colorful artwork, the guidebook is really awesome, and it's really healing, and it's really, this is one, like, I wouldn't necessarily think just like looking through these cards, but it's one that if I needed like a deep emotional clarity on something, like, this is one I would come to right away. It's really good for that. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I promise my future videos, I will get them shorter. It's going to take me a little bit of practice. When I made this video, I didn't have my channel set up yet. So my channel is Meg White, or Earthy Esoterica at Earthy Esoterica. I wanted to take Tauricorn for my Taurus and Capricorn heavy astrology, but it was taken already. Someone else is a faster genius than I. Anyway, I hope to just create more content on here. I've started with tarot, but I hope to include astrology and art and garden and herbs and all sorts of magic, awesome, beautiful things. I would love it if you would follow along or share a comment, like the video. That all helps me to grow and understand what is working and what isn't. So thank you for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful day.